Hello everyone, I'm DonTheCrown, and today I want to talk about the new Torchlight patch that's coming out here, Sandlord. And this season actually looks super duper dope. It's going to be really good timing here on the 17th. Very hyped for it. Been kind of craving Torchlight. It's just a very fun, fast, fun ARPG, and I just really enjoy it. And so we're going to go through all of the new content and stuff that they added. It's really just a ton of stuff here. It's a long 34-minute video. I'm going to try to cut this down as much as possible. Pray for the like 10-minute thing here. We're just doing this live. So starting off, we have the brand new hero, Thea the Blasphemer. It's kind of a new twist on Thea. So Thea typically is kind of the like chosen of the gods. He gets a whole bunch of like different gods blessings, which are kind of like agility, tenacity, focus blessings, which are kind of like power charges and stuff from Path of Exile. And instead of like building these up and kind of like empowering herself with them, her whole mechanic is that she instead, as she gets more max blessings, you are basically getting less blessings, but it increases your desecration power. And desecration is pretty much a debuff that you can throw on enemies that makes them take a lot of erosion damage. It's like 15% more damage per stack. And as you gain more max blessings, it reduces down the blessings that you do have and makes the desecration stacks kind of like go to the moon, which definitely seems like it's going to be really interesting, especially because this is going to allow you to play both hit erosion style build, like chaos damage if you would, and also do kind of a damage over time, probably with like a whole bunch of different skills have been pretty popular. They've also even gone out and added some new erosion hit based stuff that kind of like will make this a lot more viable. And they've added a whole slew of uniques, or legendaries, which we'll talk about here shortly, but I'm very much excited for this new champion. Now, the seasonal mechanic, if you've been playing Path of Exile, might seem a little bit familiar, because this is pretty much going to be very similar to the Settlers League. As you're running around through zones, you're going to find these little like kind of launch pad type of things where enemies are going to come and drop down on you. You're going to kill them. You're going to get resources like coins or like meat or I think dirty water and stuff. And then you can take all that stuff back to your base where you're kind of like building up these different buildings here. You have a whole bunch of cute anime cat girls who are going to work in your base for you. They're anime cat boys as well and men. But they're, they previewed like all the cat girls basically, which, kind of just makes sense, I guess. And you're just going to like kind of have a base building type of stuff here. You'll be able to like get these different workers from like experience of like going out and clearing stuff in the maps. And yeah, this is going to be pretty neat in general. You're going to have like the ability to send out like trade missions with airships and also like pirate raiding and stuff like that. So you're able to take resources that you generate and get back some pretty stinking crazy belts. And it's pretty much the power mechanic that they're adding for this season, or this melding belts here. You might notice that on the belt, there is some, additional stats that are pretty different. And pretty much the whole thing with this is that we are going to be getting some just insane power creep from this. And there are, I think, 5 different levels here of melding recipes that you can collect. The first tier is just like a medium talent trait, like a legendary talent from a slate. But then you can basically get like half of a pedigree here. And you just get a whole bunch of different stuff here. Like there's basically everything you could possibly imagine here. It's going to really crack open some builds here in order to get whatever you want on your belt. You get either the first talent or the second talent. And you can even get some hero traits here from hero traits that aren't you. And so like they give an example here where Rayhan 1 was using some of Rayhan 2's hero traits on a belt, which, I'm sure this stuff is going to be incredibly endgame type of expensive to actually make work, but it just seems like really stinking cool and pretty exciting. Kind of see what they're doing with this. And hopefully we're gonna be able to mess around and kind of make a whole bunch of different builds. And this really just kind of like puts a whole kind of like wrench in the plans of build guides and stuff. We don't really know how stuff is all going to work together. And they really just always do a great job of like making it so that there's going to be like a lot of kind of like craziness and like different build stuff going on. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. Now, they also made it so that some of these skills that did not have like precious supports or magnificent supports and noble supports are now going to be getting them. And there's a whole slew of these that are in there, just having sort of different effects. These kind of like buff and kind of change the mechanics of some skills through the supports. And so they added a whole bunch of these. And it sounds like this is something they're going to continue to do and add more supports. They're also adding more new Kismets, and both of these supports and the Kismets seem like they're going to be a little bit more accessible than they were in the past. And they just gone through and added a whole bunch of stuff. There was a lot of love in terms of like legendaries and some of these Kismets for attack projectile builds. There's even like a new legendary that's going to pretty much be like give your projectiles the ability to come back to you and hit a second time, which is pretty cool. And they're just adding a whole ton of stuff there. They also went through and they reworked or added new hero traits for some heroes. So like Rosa here got a new hero trait, I believe, that just gives her damage finally. So this might be enough to make, you know, Rosa builds kind of like a lot more viable than they have in the past. And a lot of classes, especially like Moto and stuff, I believe got some upgrades and love here. And both of the other Theas got some love as well, which is pretty important because Thea 1 and Thea 2 were kind of in a rough spot for the last couple of seasons. They're also adding a lot of support for builds that kind of like standing still and doing damage. I'm not really sure how well this is going to actually pan out, but they're adding like a new support here, Willpower, which gives you damage when you manually cast a skill while standing still. There are definitely ways to like make it so that you're standing still and you know, still able to move around at the same time, which is kind of neat. But they're definitely trying to like make it so that not all gameplay is 100% automated. They are also giving an insane amount of love for two-handed weapons. This particular weapon they're showcasing here has 10 times the DPS of my endgame weapon. It is perfect, don't get me wrong, but they added new base affixes here. They give you flat physical and percentage physical. They also made it so that not only can you have flat physical and percentage physical on the weapon, you can also have the new ultimate affix that gives you percentage physical and flat physical as well in even higher numbers than that. So this is absolutely wild crazy. And they're adding a new pair of Chase legendary gloves here, which are kind of like chef's kiss, if you would. Gives you max life, gives you additional base damage for two-handed weapons. So yeah, that's that is quite a bit. I believe that baseline, these make it so that your weapon is stuck at 200% attack critical strike. It looks like the corrupted tier 0 for this just reduces your critical strike rating, gets critical strike damage, and also gives you main hand weapon attack speed. So really, Death's Touch is going to be truly priceless this season. Very excited to kind of see this. And you can just kind of see this giving them 300% more damage. It's going to kind of be the season of two-hander, I think, which would be kind of insane. We kind of talked about this earlier with Thea. They are also kind of reworking some of Erosion stuff. Erosion pretty much just like all about will to doing damage over time, mind control pretty much. But they pretty much changed up Mixture here to now give Deterioration chance. And Deterioration is a new mechanic where when you do hit erosion damage, you're going to basically echo that damage, 60% of that damage as true damage, which bypasses resistances, can't be scaled anymore. And this kind of like, there's a lot of support for this on the passive tree and stuff, and on new affixes and things. And there's ways to make it so that this does more than 60%. Also make it so that when you apply a stack of deterioration, you apply additional stacks. So definitely getting some new play styles here. And also they made it so that every single build archetype now is going to have 2 curses, because they changed the like elemental weakness curse to now be a hit damage curse. So if you're playing like hit erosion or hit physical, now you actually have 2 curses, and like damage over time fire doesn't have 3 curses for some reason, which is I think a very good change just kind of for the health of the game. Every single build archetype will have 2 curses that affects it. Next up, they added a whole bunch of new legendary stuff. A lot of these are focused around like doing erosion style stuff. You can kind of see here the Ruinous Star. This makes it so the deterioration basically like buffs damage like crazy. It also like does damage in a whole bunch of like little intervals as opposed to one big blast. And so this kind of like triples the amount of damage that deterioration is doing. Maybe even more if you can make deterioration last longer than 1 second, which is there is support for this in the new affixes and other places. So definitely pretty interesting. This is going to be another chase legendary that they highlighted here. And then they added something that I think a lot of the community really has wanted for a long period of time, which is the ability for you to take a priceless item that you crafted on a bad base or like a base that doesn't have good affixes. And now you can go and put good affixes onto it by having the exact same type of base. So both of here are Long Night Sorceress masks, but this one has like 2 really good base affixes, and you can blast that onto your already crafted item, and it just costs, I think, 800 FE. There's basically an item that you can buy from a vendor, so it's not limited by the market and can be market manipulated and stuff. And so you can just buy that. It consumes, the item, and you're good to go there. They also did make a whole bunch of changes to the Netherrealm. It's kind of almost a little hard to go through all of them. One of the big things I kind of noticed here is they added these new secret realm things. Pretty much like when you kill monsters at a certain stage, I believe it's like time mark 8 and above, you're going to start getting these secret realms, which have like a whole bunch of different gameplay. It's a little bit different than normal ones here. This one, Unholy Pedestal, makes it so the stage only has boss monsters who will attack you one after another. The more waves you defeat, the more bosses there will be on the battlefield. So that sounds pretty insane, pretty fun. And there's other stuff like this, and there's like all treasure goblins type of thing, and just be pretty cool. They also went and made it so that Deep Space is now, instead of being like 5 different regions with all the normal maps that you're always doing, they're always going to be, there's 5 bigger maps that have more monsters, more difficulty, and incredibly hard modifiers that do things like apply damage over time to you and stuff. And some of these modifiers seem pretty freaking gnarly, and you don't have the ability to add them one at a time. Instead, you'd have to roll the entire sheet. And so the stage is filled with lasers. The player is continuously weakened and received 200% of the control status effect. The native rare monsters have 20% chance to release a cold current vortex around, which will definitely cause freezing with a cooldown of 10 seconds and cannot be dodged. And so it's like all this stuff. When magic or rare monsters are damaged, there's a 100% chance to apply burn to the player, which lasts for 5 seconds. It has an interval of 0.5 seconds. So these are going to kind of require that you get some defensive layers that you probably don't need in other parts of the game. And don't worry, they did add support for the game. They did add a whole bunch of different stuff to like kind of make this a lot more viable. In terms of like actually surviving some of these crazy things, which I think is pretty cool because it just kind of like felt bad, just like scale my damage to the moon, where like I'm just going to survive by one-shotting everything on the screen. Now you're kind of having to also build some defenses here. They also made it so that you're no longer going to be able to trade the star shards. You have to run all your bosses yourself, but the bosses are going to be a lot more rewarding, and you'll be able to kind of like level them up as you kill them. You're going to get additional rewards for them as well. And it becomes more and more difficult, but more and more rewarding, which I think is very good. You get stuff like the special skills, like level 21s and other stuff, and like special legendary gear at higher ranks. They also went through and changed a whole bunch of the constellation stuff that was kind of bad, made Blacksail actually probably worth investing in again, which I think is pretty good. They've improved a lot of the priceless gear stuff. They didn't really show everything here, but they made it so that you're way more likely to drop 2 affix pricelesses as opposed to just ones. Tarot cards have made it into the core game mechanic. So if you like the tarot gameplay, it's going to be like basically just like how it was last season, except you have to like spec into it to make sure it's on every map. And it does, I think, cost like twice as many tarot cards to get into the mechanic, but you can find a lot more of the like specific loot for this mechanic, especially the like undetermined fates at the end. They also adding a brand new boss. There's a lot of stuff. They're adding a brand new boss to the void region of the map, and it's like this giant like crow looking guy, and this fight just definitely looks really cool. And it's very nice that they're adding this as the Void stage boss, because this guy is actually also going to be the boss of the Supreme Showdown 20. And so you're going to be able to like challenge him there before you have to go and challenge him on SS20, which can be pretty difficult. SS21 is the Void Pirate, back from 2 seasons ago. I really did like this fight, so I'm excited to kind of see this again. And then for quality of life stuff, the training dummy here is getting a Glowup, which I really didn't expect, because the training dummy is already kind of like way better than what we have in other games. But now we can kind of like pay a lot more attention to how things are going in terms of like actual DPS. It shows right there for different things. We can also see the changes on our character as we go. We can like tell it to set areas for like show nearby, show proximity, stuff like that. Like that's just kind of nice to know. And maybe it's not hard. It's hard to tell like when you actually don't have a lot of experience in the game. And then the on death screen here, when you die, there's like more information. It lets you know what killed you, how much damage you took, what type of damage you took. Is it hit? Is it damage over time? What debuffs were on you when you died? Not shown here, but they talked about it. I just think this is really good. It's really good to know what kills you in an ARPG. I really hate dying and be like, what the heck happened? I have no idea. It, you know, just kind of sucks. They also made it so that on the big boss challenge here, the damage cap no longer applies. So you can see that they're hitting for 3.8 trillion here, which is pretty cool. So the tippity top of builds here are really going to get to shine. And like, there's not really any extra reward besides feeling good, but you'll be able to like kind of surpass the damage cap against these bosses and kind of see where your build can really go. They also added some more quality of life for the trade house here. So if you're like selling things like Netherrealm resonance, and you do a price check, you can click on a price per unit, and it will set that price for your stack. And it also now always defaults to max stacks, just making it a lot easier for you to sell stuff, which I just think is really stinking nice. They're also having another awesome 7-day event here, where because it's like a 2-year anniversary, we're gonna get 300 jagged and then a guaranteed legendary drop Pactspirit, which has all the way up to the canvas pet in it. And so this is pretty good if you don't have the cube pet, the City of Eterna pet, the Mistfill or Nightmare pet, or the cogwheel or the canvas pet. You can pick one up basically just for logging in 7 days, which I think is super great. Looks like also they're adding to the shop the ability for you to for a limited number of times directly buy one of these boxes as well if you really want to. It's not something you have to do. It kind of allows you to like bypass the gacha a little bit here, which I think is kind of an okay thing. I still don't really like the Pactspirit situation at all, but being able to bypass gacha a little bit is, you know, a little bit appealing. Other cosmetics and stuff they're adding here is like the new outfit here for Thea. So I work on all of the Theas. And then we have a new outfit as well, I believe, for probably Gemma. They didn't really say who this was for. Looks like some sort of like dragon or something for Thea. And then we have new Pactspirits for both the League mechanic, which this one doesn't really seem to be as strong as maybe the previous season. And then we have one here for a erosion damage focused Pactspirit, which is kind of got a really awkward like pose here. I don't really know how to feel about this one, but yeah, maybe we'll see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to use the code that they showed at the end of the stream, it's TL Gold 0418. And yeah, this season starts on the 17th. I guess it's probably the 18th in China, but I will be streaming the whole thing. I'll be playing Thea 3, and we will have a whole bunch of campaign leveling guides up on our heroic.gg website, which I'll probably do a video talking about that as well. We're doing a lot of work kind of behind the scenes right now to try to get some good information and guides up on there. So hopefully you come by and, you know, either check out the site or check out the stream or check out more videos here. Subscribe if you like the content, and thank you so much for all the love and support. See you soon.